Today I'm going to put these toys away, and I'm going to be building ones that are made of these colors. Maybe I'll have a little splash of color there, but I want to get some more that are monochromatic or duochromatic, cardboard color plus black, and maybe a little highlight of red or yellow. So I've got these pizza boxes, and this is A4 Pizza, which used to be this great pizza place, and then they had a fire, and I don't know if they're in business, but someone ordered something from A4 Pizza. I think they have more than one location. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting these into bite-sized pieces, and I don't know how these are going to be rearranged, and I'll find that out when I get done cutting them. Here's some, a jumper. Where did it go? These are some little tiny, where's my camera? Little pizza slices there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to oh God, gravity, what are you doing to me? Okay, where did you go? I'll remove the pizza grease from this one. I've become Butterfingers in my old age here. I don't know why I'm dropping things and can't hold on to them. My opposable thumb is, I don't think it's the opposable thumb's fault. Then maybe my fingertips are not working. So anyway, this logo, this very angular geometric lettering is what attracted me to this box, and I took it out of the dumpster because of the angular bits. And I thought, here, you know, it already has a structure of a building or a machine because of its angular lettering. So I thought, well, I'll see if I can make that work. So I'm cutting these up. I'm not tearing them. I'm not cutting them with corners, with angles, curves. That's what I meant, curves. I'm not cutting them in curves. I'm cutting them with sharp edges so that I retain that element that I like. And then I'll bring them over to my desk, and I'll see if I can arrange them into a machine or maybe a person. I was outside yesterday going to get my coronavirus supply, my bread and peanut butter from Target, which is the nearest store to me. And the construction of the roadway was in full swing, and there were all sorts of fun machines. And in it, at this thing, were also some policemen getting paid, I don't know how many dollars an hour, to stand there and watch. And in our fair city of Boston, the police have a sweet little contract where they can essentially stand there. They're off duty in a way. And they don't get full pay, but they get almost full pay, but they don't actually have to do anything. Whether they, if they see something happening, like an armed robbery or something, they might take their hands out of their pockets. But generally, they sit in their squad car if it's raining and download porn or do whatever they do while being paid by me and you, if you're from the city. So they have a sweet deal there, and whenever there's a plan to change the deal, their union is very strong and they refuse to budge. I'm probably simplifying things a lot, and if there are policemen out there that think I'm misrepresenting you, by all means, let me know. I'm sure you would. Otherwise, you're doing a great job, and you're probably doing a very good job of watching the construction happen. But I know that in order to save money, there are some cities and towns that say, well, why can't we hire, these people that we hire to be crossing guards at grade schools, parents of children and senior citizens, people that maybe need the money. Why can't they stand there with their hands in their pockets? And that's not allowed, evidently, by the union, because maybe they have to be able to do something like stop an armed robbery. Seems to me that was the defense, Well, I'm sure I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me. Okay, so what am I going to do? Here, I plugged in my hot glue thinking I'm going to figure this out, and I haven't figured a goddamn thing out. So I've got all of these things. Now, what kind of machine is this going to be? We have these really funky machines. Maybe I'm just going to, sometimes by just starting to glue things together randomly, I'll get to a point where something will suddenly make sense to me. So with my shtick right now, as part of my rule that I'm giving myself, all of these things are going to be at right angles to the printed line. Even if the piece of cardboard is not at a right angle, I want to have the objects be at a right angle. So that's the rule I'm going to follow. And then at some point I will probably break that rule and throw something in that's crooked, but maybe not at a crooked angle. Maybe at a crooked angle, I don't know. I mean, what's fun about these tractors and stuff is that most of the activity, most of the actions they work because they're sort of built with a design logic that makes sense, even though I'm not making sense. There's sense to how they're built, and Oh. I will try to imitate the... Oh, God damn, that hot glue is hot. See here, that one's placed so it follows that line. Okay, so far I don't have a sense of what this thing is, so I will continue to add to it. You know, maybe I'll have to order, I'll get myself in a position where I need more A4 logos, so I'll have to order a pizza delivery. Now if I put a wheel, I mean at some point this is probably going to be put on it either will be put on a trailer that will have wheels, or I will put wheels on this and it'll suddenly become a tractor or a backhoe digger or some sort of thing. And maybe it won't, maybe nothing will happen with it. That's another entire possibility. Maybe I'll just, maybe that's a guy, maybe that's a policeman. Here's his legs, his little bulge, his head, and he's holding a thing here and holding a thing here. There. Now it's a guy. Let's try another one. Well, part of the reason I'm showing you this is to have you see, whether you like it or not, what things I think about while I'm making these constructions. And because I think probably because I don't have a particular thing in mind, it's turning out to be very abstract at the moment. And I think that's sort of fun about how some of these things turn out. They start out as an abstracted object, and then you add one little thing, and then they become like this. If this didn't have the wheels down here, you might not see this as anything, but the wheels turned it into this crane. This didn't look like anything until I put the little head there. Without it, it didn't necessarily make sense. So maybe the addition of one little tiny thing is going to turn this from a clusterfuckification to into something. Now this might end up being the thing that's being built by all of this activity. The things that are being built outside my window right here are not very three-dimensional. They're relatively flat. They're train tracks and bridges that hold train tracks. They're not anything too complicated looking. They're very simple. This is way more complicated looking than the things that I'm seeing outside my window. Do I want a little bit of light? I do. I want a little bit of light showing through there. So, you know, this becomes something kind of cool, even though or not. You know, this could be smoke coming out of a Art Deco locomotive. One of my favorite artists of all time is named Saul Steinberg, and his drawings are just so beautiful and so imaginative and so fun, but also kind of clumsy at the same time. And he's been an influence in my artistic life. He was my first influence artistically, and I just love his stuff. And I could see this being the smoke that comes out of a train or ocean liner or something. He didn't really draw boats. He wasn't a boat drawer. He drew lots of trains and buildings and taxi cabs, New York City, and he was hired by the Time or Life magazine, I think it was Life magazine, to draw the, see, that could be smoke coming out of a chimney, to draw the baseball season. And he was known as a cartoonist. The cartoons and the covers of the New Yorker I think he was the most prolific artist ever for the New Yorker. I don't know if that's true, but he's done hundreds of them. And he, but the drawings he did of the stadiums, the baseball stadiums and the baseball players, they're just hysterical. And my mouth hurts because I smile so much when I look at his artwork. And a friend of mine went to the show that was at the Whitney in New York, not the Whitney, the Frick maybe, I forget, some art museum that was in a house, a mansion. And it was, he said he left and his face hurt all day long because he was smiling so much. And people in the show, I went to the show, and people at the show were giggling and talking to each other, and that doesn't happen at a museum normally. Normally you don't do that. You whisper, and you wouldn't never think of talking to your neighbor. They're looking at the art, and strangers were saying, "God, I love this one. Isn't this great?" And they weren't talking to their boyfriend or their wife or whatever. They were talking to me, and I thought, what? And yes, they are great. They're so much fun. So there's maybe more smoke coming out. Maybe this is gonna be smoke because it's so un-smoke-like. So if that's smoke, I may have to do something I normally don't do. I may have to take some of this thing apart and I think I'm going to have to do that. Rare that I'm doing this, but I do like it as smoke. I was in Philadelphia a while ago, and I had so much fun drawing it was bitterly cold outside, and there was a roof across the alleyway from where I was staying, and out of the roof was this steam coming out of a vent, and it was just so much fun to see this steam whipping around. And I did a drawing of it on my iPad and animated it, and it really did look bitterly cold out. So now I have to make something that's going to be belching all this smoke out. A few more pieces. Piz pie. I had a couple of ends. Did I glue those down already? Forget. There's the ends, or the Z's. The pizza. Save those for something else. So this was unplanned, and I ended up drawing this creating these things very differently than I thought. And now I know that these are going to be smoke. So I need to make something that will produce that. What is that going to be? The lithium battery burning down. This is already made. See, this could come out of the lithium battery. This did turn into a person in one of my little dioramas running. His head was on fire. I don't know what I'm doing right now, but I'm cutting that out. I like the little zigzaggy bits. In fact, I kind of like all of this. I'm just going to take out the brown part. Yesterday, as I was drawing the various things I was drawing, I ended up doing drawings of a cement mixer. And it was neat because it was a very clean and tidy cement mixer. Sometimes, these guys in their construction vehicles, they go home and they go back to their garages and they get out the power wash and they clean them all up. And other times it looks like they have never been cleaned, and they were made with dirty metal that was already dirty. And so I thought, well, I'm going to have to, I don't have to do a damn thing, but I'm going to decide to do a drawing of these cement mixers. So I found some nice shiny white cardboard and took that out of the dumpster this morning. I don't know if I want them all to be glossy. But the things were black and white, and there was a little bit of red. And then they had an American flag on the side, which was upside down. The American flags, you often see them painted on the side of the drum of a cement mixer. And they're right side up half the time, and the other half of the time they're upside down. And sometimes you wonder, why did they do that upside down? Why did they paint that upside down? Well, it's only upside down because you're looking at it from the angle. Just walked around the thing, you'd see it a different color. You'd see it differently. It's like when they put a flag on an airplane. You sometimes see an American flag on it, painted on the side of an airplane. And it seems to me, yeah, they always paint it the quote correct way, but it seems wrong when it's facing. It seems like I would paint them so that if the airplane were flying, the canton, the blue part, would be toward the front of the airplane, regardless of whether it would be backwards or not, because that's how the wind would push it. And that's how that would work in my universe. Okay, do I have enough to make a cement mixer? I have one of those. Now, should I show you the drawing I did of the cement mixer? I'll be right back. Don't go away. That's not a cement mixer. Those are the policemen. Well, it was one policeman drawn twice. There's one of the cement mixers, and that's with the flag upside down. So now I will turn that. I'll make that out of my things. Now the wheels were white, and the wheels were black, sorry, and they had red interiors. So let me get my black I need. Okay, so is that going to be a wheel? I'll make that a wheel. Part of my wheel, there were, I don't know how many wheels this thing had total. 2, 4, 6. You could see 4 per side. One of them was a, quote, spare tire, but the 2 wheels in the back, I don't know if those were double wheels, whether there were 4, 2 back to back or not. I didn't study that. So this thing could have had 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 tires on it, if you counted the spare tire. Or it might have had 4 fewer. Now, sometimes, but these things that I'm drawing are relatively flat, and sometimes I have only the slightest amount of dimensionality suggested. And on one of these wheels, I'm going to put the red thing behind it, and on another wheel I'm going to put it in front, on top of. And I'm doing that, why? I'm doing that One of the reasons I'm doing that is to immediately fuck it up. Now, when I say fuck it up, it doesn't mean that I'm intentionally trying to make a bad decision. It just means I don't want it to be, I don't want to feel trapped into creating something that is too exact, because then it becomes work and not play for me. See that little bit of light that comes through? That's perfect. That little bit of light and a little bit of white. You know, if I was a real artist, perfectionist, I would get a compass and draw this, but I'm not, and I don't want to be. This is going to be the spare tire, I think. So I need another black one. I think I do want to have the 3 tires you see to be somewhat accurate, somewhat the same. I want you to see that standardization. Except I'm going to do a little bit of something here. I just want to add there. It's a slightly different color red, just for shits and giggles. So I have the 3 tires in the spare tire, and this thing had a red chassis that I noticed. It was sort of peeking through. I'm being a little bit more exact in this one, just because I don't know how cement mixers work as well as I know how these other things work. So it's just a little bit different for me to draw. I say draw. That's sort of what I'm sculpt. See, I've got another color of red here. So far, that's what it looks like. It has these zigzaggy fenders and this big thing with the American flag spinning around on top, and this up here there was this railing walkway thing that you'd stand up to make sure that you were putting the shit in the top, and so it would fall in right and then mix around. And then there was the scoopy thing was here where somehow this would raise up, maybe, so it all would fall out. I don't know exactly how that worked, but because I didn't stick around to watch. I need a longer chassis. Come on, Beer. My phone is on a tripod kind of thing. It's the base of a lamp, which has is that enough? I think that's enough. Base of a lamp, so, and it's right in my line of fire here. So it's going to be this long. Has this sort of, I don't know what is on the back. That might be the motor that turns the thing around, that spins it. There's a little smokestack here. Maybe this thing can produce this smoke coming out of the back. Again, I don't know. Okay. can see by my drawing that I've sort of moved things around a little bit. I'm just going to glue that on just since it's there. There. I'm wondering whether this has too many colors. It's black and white and red. Is it one? Should it only be two colors? These are mainly two. I think that black and white and red is a good color combo. It worked for the Third Reich. It can work for me. Yeah, I think it can. Now I made this the other day, and I made it for some other reason, but it's perfect for this because there was right between this were all these little tiny things, and some of them, you know, were, one was a tank, I think, for gas or something, and one was something else, and it was a nice sort of conglomeration of little tiny details. The main thing is this big drum, and that was relatively unadorned, with the exception of the American flag upside down. So there was complexity here, sort of simplicity here, and a little bit of complexity over there. But as you can see, I'm working from this, which is abstracted from reality by leaps and bounds. So that's what I'm dealing with. Now these letters, because they're white on black, I think these are going to come in handy to sort of imply other kinds of complexities. Like the E, this could be the railing on the top, even though the railing was white on sky, on the color of the sky. I also have these, you know, this zigzaggy bit, and sometimes I use zigzag, you know, lines like that to represent things that are zigzagged in reality. But right now I don't think I want to do that. I think that might be too I don't want it to end up being too, quote, realistic, unquote. I don't want to be trapped by that. I want to be a little freer. So it's this fun play of, you know, you're abstracting reality. There's the real thing that you are looking at is three-dimensional and moving and green and or brown or whatever color it is, and you're turning it into a black and white drawing, which is made of black ink on white paper, and it's flat. So immediately you're reducing reality, and how much you reduce it depends on your mood and your abilities and your vision and whatever else. I didn't want that blob of glue to be there, so, which is too bad because it's there. I'll cover it up with this because I do have to add that. Now, do I want the brown of the cardboard ever to show up on this thing? I think you see it on the edges, and you see it sometimes. I don't mind it, but I'm going to try to avoid it as much as I can. The other fender is there. So anyway, there we go. I don't think I have to insist that you watch me do all of the rest of it. It's not that important. I just thought that you might enjoy seeing how some things end up starting out completely abstractly and kind of stay that way. I didn't want this to turn into this, but it did, and it made me think of something new for it. Where this, I had it in my little head. I had it in my head that I was going to make this truck. So there are different things, different parts of my brain are being used. This is, even though this fender isn't this big, I'm going to make it that big just because I can. Because I can. I think there was like a ladder or something to get up to the cab. Maybe that was on the other side. Forget. So, there we go. Bye.